We needed to just build a team spirit, encourage them, enable them, build their talents in hopes that by the time we were 3 years later, or for the third season, we'd be playing for the championship. I guess it was a success because we did play for the championship. We lost it. But does that mean we did not have a successful season? I often think of success as something that has to be the #1 prize. I remember Gregory graduated valedictorian, and the salutatorium was devastating because he was not valedictorian. His 3 previous brothers were. It was required of him to be valedictorian. There was no joy for this young man being salutatorian. As far as his parents were concerned, his high school years were not a success. How else do we look at success? When I began this preparations for the sermon this morning, the recent verdict of the Supreme Court had not been released. And so just feeling that need to address that, I want to just take a stab at saying, was the recent decision by the Supreme Court a success? And before I answer that question, I want to go back and look at some of the other things that have happened over the course of my ministry, and I want to ask you, is it a success? You know, Paul says that everything is permissible, but not everything is beneficial. And so I go back to the time when prayers were removed from school. It was permissible. It was permissible to remove prayer when once it was permissible to have prayer, it was no longer permissible, but now it's permissible not to have prayer. How has society benefited by that? On a scale of 1 to 10, would you say that society has greatly benefited or have not benefited at all? Or maybe you want to give them a 0, not a 1, because 1's even too high. What about Wade versus Roe? Or Roe versus Wade? A civil right gives every woman the civil right to have an abortion. It's their right to choose whether to terminate or not to terminate. It's permissible. Has that been beneficial for our society? If you were to rate the beneficial, whether it was beneficial or not, would you rate it high or low? We got rid of the blue laws. It's permissible to go to any store you want and shop to your heart's content. Beneficial? Youth sports leagues, as much as I love sports, when I was growing up, you didn't play on Sunday. Now every sport league under the sun has games on Sunday. Permissible. Beneficial? Has our society truly benefited? Have we become a more wholesome, God-loving society? Or have we kind of seen a very slow fade from a godly country to more of a civil country? I think there's a real big difference between civil rights and biblical rights. I don't know where you stand on the recent verdict of same-sex marriage. It is now permissible. And please don't tag me as a homophobe or any of that nature. My nephew is married to another man. He was married back 2 years ago in Massachusetts. I love Jonathan and I love Timothy. They are both wonderful men. So I come from, and perhaps every one of you has somebody in your family or some friend of a family who has someone in a same-sex relationship. It's permissible. But is it beneficial? I don't take out the same-sex marriage as an issue. But what really concerns me, and really grieves me, is that the church has allowed society to interpret Scripture instead of the church interpreting Scripture for the society. We have seen changes in society, what the society wanted, and so therefore the church has now allowed society from a biblical perspective to say it's okay. What bothers me is that these issues are destroying exactly what Jesus prayed for. John 16, Jesus prayed that all believers will be united. That doesn't mean we have to be unified. That doesn't mean that we have to think and act and believe and embrace every single thing the same. What I witness every Sunday morning when we gather is a miracle. Because in this congregation right now, I'm willing to say there's a Republican, there's a Democrat, there's an independent, there's a conservative, there's a liberal, there's somebody sitting on the fence, there's somebody who is pro-life, somebody's pro-choice, there's somebody that does not see homosexuality as a sin, and others who see it as a sin. And you know what? Beyond all of that, we have one thing in common. We love God. We love one another. And what truly grieves me is I know the repercussion that's going to happen from this legislation. We're going to see churches now picketing. We're going to see continued signs of God hates gays. We're going to see Christian people expressing disgust or acts of disgust. And like, that's any better than the sin they're picketing? Is hatred and bigotry and racism a lesser sin than homosexuality or drunkenness or debauchery or sexual immorality? And these four words are not mine. They're words that come out of Scripture. We need to be generous in love. We need to be united as the Church of Jesus Christ, who in spite of personal differences can embrace and dwell and live together, because the greatest commandment is not to condemn one another. The greatest commandment is not to talk about somebody behind their back. The greatest commandment is not to speak slanderously about others. The greatest commandment is not to hate one another. The greatest commandment is what? Love one another. And so wherever you stand on the issue of same-sex marriage, I'm not going to condemn you. I'm not going to say you're wrong. I know what I believe based on my understanding of Scripture. And I will share that and communicate and have conversation with anybody about it. And I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to try to twist your mind. And if you want to argue with me, don't call me, because I don't want to argue. If we can't have an intelligent conversation about issues that we live with every day, we don't understand what it is to love God with heart, soul, mind, and strength, and to love neighbor as ourselves. So same-sex marriages are now permissible. Let's come back to the question, is it going to be beneficial? We can respond as negatively as we want to it. It's permissible, but it's beneficial. So let's stand as the Church of Christ, united in love for God and united in love for one another. Let's be generous in that. Let us not condemn. Let us have honest conversation. Let us continue to turn to the Word of God, the true Word of God. And let us base not our opinions on what society says or what culture says is okay, but let's live a lifestyle that is going to follow Christ. That's success. A successful lifestyle is one that is going to measure their thoughts, measure their actions, measure their lives on Christ. Let's love one another. Gracious God and Heavenly Father, we live in very challenging times. We live in a society that tells us we can have it all. God, there's a man by the name of Lot who thought he could have it all. He thought he could have the blessings of God and the lifestyle of the pagan culture that we live in. First, it was pretty good for him. But then his life collapsed. God, help us to be challenged. Challenged by your word. So that we choose biblical right over civil